We're live, like usual, throwing Rena out into the wild before she's ready. Um, we are here today to talk about all the things search, social, and websites. So we're going to dive right in, right? First is technical, because who doesn't want to talk about Chat GP? Greg T. Because it's number 4. And I just have to firstly say, my friend got invited to Bard and I did not.
Oh,
I
exciting.
know. And she's not even a search specialist. Like, I mean, really. She's a
Oh,
content person. Quite depressing, I'm thinking. Anyway, what do you guys have? You guys tried Bard? Have you?
Not yet.
You guys didn't get invited either. You're like me.
I've
No.
looked at some previews of what I've seen out there or what's been posted out there of people who've had limited
Yes,
access, but no, I haven't had anything myself. But I'm looking forward to
trying it.
seeing their version of it.
And have you tried the Chat GPT, not Bard?
I've tried Chat GPT, yeah, a couple
Did you
times.
what you try? What did you try with it?
Uh, I tried a couple of things, just basic things like writing a note to someone. I tried to have it build me a Stanley Cup winning hockey team, but it couldn't do that. Um, just weird questions, just to see what it does and how it responds.
I asked it to give me keywords for like a real estate agent, and it was quite generic. I'm not gonna lie. So we shall see, right? And then so today we're going over technical stuff. Well, Google Ads, SEO, website stuff. Greg, why don't we start with you, and then socials? Greg, what's going on
Okay,
in
well,
WordPress?
WordPress has its latest 6.2 update coming out March 28th. So that's in what, 4 or 5 days? And there's going to be some pretty good changes coming. Full site editing is going to be out of beta, so um, you will be able to really start building headers, footers, templates for pages, all of that completely through the block editor.
Ooh.
Only if you use a block theme. So people will notice with this new release of WordPress that they will be separating um, what they're going to start calling classic themes and block themes in the theme repository, so that people know. Um, the difference really is block themes will have that all of that ability to build your headers and footers, and a bunch of templates and everything like that completely with the block um, building experience. And when you're using a block theme, as opposed to how most themes now, when you go into the appearance section, there's a customize option, which brings you into a screen where a lot of the themes have customization settings for the headers, footers, and a bunch of other sections. These new block themes, instead of it saying customize there, it'll say edit theme or edit something like that, and it will take you into a new experience where you can do all of this block-based building of the headers, footers, and other sections.
Are you excited about this?
I'm mildly excited about it. I feel like it'll just be a different experience. Themes will adapt to doing it this way, but there's most modern theme frameworks, as I call them, in that customizer section, you have pretty well most of the abilities to build your headers and footers the way you want already. So it will kind of just be a different way of building it, as opposed to going into the theme customizer, you'll go into it a different way and build them all with the block features.
So will that affect like the people use Divi and Elementor? How is that going to affect those sites? Do we know?
Well, as the block-based editor progresses, really, we're gonna have, and it could be after this release, a time when you really don't need those page builders at all anymore because of these tools being able to basically, create whatever you like, which is sort of what the page builders have been giving us for a couple of years. So, yeah, I see this is probably a big hit to moving forward, where page builders will eventually go away and people will just use this new experience.
Ah, it's so fast
Oh,
moving, eh?
interesting.
I still,
Like,
one
Yeah.
thing is that, when Gutenberg, the block builder, came out and people needed to adopt from the classic way of editing to the block builder, it really took quite a long time, and there's still some people out there that would prefer and install the classic editor plugin to still have that. And I think Gutenberg might have come out at least 3, maybe even 4 years ago. So it's
wow.
been a quite slow adoption, and I see the block-based theme adoption to be at least that long, maybe even longer, because people like what they're currently doing, and the current themes, like I said, have this customizer that are very easy to work with and build, very nice layouts already. The other thing too is when it comes out and you look through the block-based theme options versus classic options, it's like there's so many classic options, right? Because that's what's been available up until now. When this gets released, there will really be limited block-based themes to start with, and we need to adopt and start building. The developers need to start building those block-based themes before you can actually use this functionality of the full site editing that WordPress is going to have now.
I am happy to hear that websites are getting a big shuffle too, because SEO is on fire. Social's crazy. And I always think with websites, it's so level, kind of like you, Greg. Always, level, and and we want, like, I'm glad there's turmoil, but I mean, many jobs go away. Like, over the years, there used to be somebody that used to, when you buy a house, run down to some office and get some papers. I don't know, and that job went away. So I'm sure there's other jobs that have filled that job. So just like that with digital, I mean, because with chat GPT, we're going to see all those like copy.ai and things like that. They're probably losing money hand over fist, right? And then it sounds like if web developers don't move at some point towards this, if they're on WordPress, like, why do we know why WordPress is doing this? Is it easy
So that
use?
it's a much better experience to build your website. Essentially, it's to compete with all of the other platforms out there, where it is a much more drag and drop, build the entire page experience. Um, from the very beginning, WordPress has been very rigid, right? I remember a time not too long ago, maybe 4 to 6 years ago, when every website looked exactly the same,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. In
And
fact, it's completely shifted the entire notion of what a website should look like. You
mhm,
know, it was quite remarkable when really for me and possibly for you too, Greg, it it signified, oh, that's a WordPress template. You know,
mhm.
that I could tell without looking at it. And then other platforms started using those that sort of configuration. Big banner, 3 columns, another piece of something, and
Mm.
it was like that, and it kind of meant that website design was really rigid. It had to fit within those um, constraints if you were interested in having a WordPress site. But I'm so thankful that it's really moving away, and there are so many more interesting sites to look at now, that you don't have to
Absolutely.
have those static type, like, boring. They're quite boring. They're very good for business because they do a very specific thing. They tell people where to put their main pieces of content, if they're making their own site, and gets those pieces of content in the right spot.
Hmm.
But if you are a designer, it's like, and people have the expectation that a WordPress site looks like this, then you're kind of stuck redesigning WordPress templates over and over and over again. That kind of look.
Yeah.
Anyways, it is much
There's
nicer. I like the way that things are moving in general.
there's
And if
one
It's
you
other
interesting.
notable web thing, because this is the longest I think we've ever spent on web. The one other thing coming to WordPress 6.2 is that Openverse, the images that
Oh
are
yeah.
available in WordPress are now baked into the editor, so that you'll be able to go in and look at whatever media you have uploaded to your site already, or also search through Openverse for an image that you'd like to use on your site. So it's right
Interesting.
there, and it'll be right there in the editor for us if you want to throw in
Who
free
are they
images.
pulling in? Are they pulling in like Unsplash or
No, no, no.
like?
It's its own thing that people contribute images to. Um, so it's like an Unsplash, but it's called Openverse.
And we
And
don't.
it has a better licensing. When I looked into it, it's like one of the not better licensing. I think it's Creative Commons. Don't quote me on it, but it's like easier for people to use. Whereas if you use Unsplash, yeah, like there's a bunch of rules that have to follow because of the licensing agreements, and so there's a bunch of it makes it a lot easier for people to use.
Hmm.
Oh, so will people have to check at regulations on what images they can use, or they're just free
They
for
should
all?
always check with the regulations and don't take people that are randomly on a Facebook live stream as legal advice.
Yes. Yes.
Just
Good
saying that.
point.
Uh,
Right. I think when I started out website building, yes, because I started there and quickly left that arena. Um, I will say that, I used an image and I guess I wasn't supposed to. And then the client a year later got a snapshot of the website with the image saying, "You owe us money." And it was a fishing expedition, but it was still, I mean, Rena, you've had issue with this too, right?
Yeah, totally. So while copyright is important to follow because creatives need to make a living too. That's number one. I think we can all agree there. But there are, and to use it incorrectly, and just because we don't know any better, is really not a great spot to be in. But we do find that people do get in that spot. But what I take exception to, and I forgot the guy's name because there is one person in particular in Europe who does this quite aggressively. It's actually designed. His system is designed to entice people to use it incorrectly. He targets people who don't know copyright rules very well, and then he runs a software looking for all of the infringements. And then he has a third party who collects the retroactive license fees, which are always designed to be a hit in the pocketbook for sure, but less than it would be to hire a lawyer. Not worth it to hire a lawyer to fight it for you. But you still did something wrong, so there could be further implications there or whatever. So people pay it.
So what I'm
Hmm.
hearing is ignorance is not an excuse.
No, it's and I actually have a really good. I'll drop my link in the in the comments section, and I'm going to write it down because I sometimes forget to drop the links afterwards, but on a blog post that really goes into copyright, what you can do, what you can't do, where you can find images. And I know, Pip, on your website, you also have a great stock photo library for people
A to Z. That thing, that was my first pillar content. But sadly, I don't, it's not, this is when it comes down, this brings us right into SEO. And we have a client going through this now too, which is you might write an epic blog post with links and, like my image one, but if you don't sell something to do with images, is it relevant to your site? If I'm a real estate agent, should I be writing about schools and the pools in the area, or should I focus on just the neighborhoods kind of thing, right? Like there's a lot that goes into marketing and figuring out the right things to do. So when I started out, maybe not my best choice, but epic blog post. That being said, I do have a guide that should be added to that blog post that is how to optimize images. So then it can flow, right? Because then I'm focused on the SEO element. So kind of interesting.
Exactly.
So are we done with the websites? Yeah? Phelan, you had 2 cents, didn't you?
Not.
Yeah,
I was going to say that there's
Greg's like,
super exciting one for anyone that's a Shopify user that they've officially come out with the Google Analytics 4 connector. So you can actually use it to do e-commerce tracking, and you should set that up as quickly as you can because we've got 3 months before the Universal Analytics is going down, and you want to collect as much historical data as you possibly can right now. It works. So, One of our clients has set it up, and we have data coming in, and so it looks really good. And so, this is, and it's super easy. You just go to your Google sales channel in Shopify, and it's just right there in the center screen.
There will be upteen blog posts about it in the next 24 hours, I'm sure. The other thing to note with Google Analytics 4 is if you're a business owner or new marketer, you'll know that you might be getting a notification that says connect your Google Analytics 4. Google's just toying with you. Like it's probably, if it's already connected, you can ignore that. If you have somebody that connected it for you, ignore that. I think it's a glitch that's going on in the system, but we're getting those emails like, oh my God, you didn't set it up. I'm like, no, we did. It's there. We're actually focusing on now setting up conversion tracking in there, right? Because so out of the box, you can track different things like scroll depth, right? But you can't track like what you want to be tracking potentially is like how far was the scroll depth, which you would use Tag Manager for. Arena's like, yeah, that's fun.
No, I'm actually trying to keep a half an eye on this dog that's going wild next to me. Sorry.
Why is the dog going wild? I know that's not marketing, but it's interesting.
I think it's because it's used to having a family with a lot of action, a lot of kids, and one kid, but kids have a lot of action with animals. And I sit and type on my computer for 12 hours, 13 hours, and she gets annoyed at me for not paying any attention. I'm trying to learn how to type one-handed.
Oh,
okay.
That's all right. So we're gonna move into search and social. Phelan, what's the news on search besides not being invited to Bard?
Well, yeah, and I think that most likely it's going to be limited to Americans. That's usually how most Google stuff works for the intros, is that they open it up to Americans, then it open up to everyone else afterwards. Regarding
Canada's usually high on that list, though.
It's usually Americans. I'm still waiting for my Google tables. So any day that opens up, I'm more than happy to use that. But I won't hold my breath. Yeah, Google. But in general, with the SEO right now, there's so GPT-4 got released, but it's only for businesses. So all those. So what you had said at the top, Pip, Copy AI, Jasper, any of those guys, they'll most likely be fine because they probably bought a very expensive license, because OpenAI is not a nonprofit anymore. They are a limited profit company.
I've never heard of a limited profit company.
Oh yeah, limited is like it protects you. I forgot. Somebody went over that with me just the other day, and I forgot what the difference between incorporated and limited is, but there is a difference in protection.
I was
Interesting.
going to say most startup based companies are limited profit companies. AO. That would be uh, so but generally they so GPT-4 has been released only to businesses, and so we're going to see how that shakes out. Apparently, it's bigger, better, and makes as many mistakes as the first one. And
Woohoo!
yeah, and so the other thing is that there's a core website update that's kind of for Google that is reinforcing the double EAT. So
Mm.
that's that expert authority and trust. And so it's a lot of the same. If you just read what people are noticing, just keep an eye out for your traffic. Um,
So if you're a doctor, make sure you put that on your website. Just saying.
yeah, this would be a good time. You should talk to an SEO
Right.
about getting schema put onto your website that has your certifications in the schema. Google does look for that.
Okay. Good to know.
That's
Good
So,
exciting,
tip.
though. That
yeah,
is a
so
good tip.
that was one of the things that came out of the Yandex code base leak is that they do look in the schema as well as on the page for any sort of certifications, years of experience, like any sort of
Mm.
like little bits that you can give like that. They will use that to help with rankings.
We should go find the SEO that's read through that Yandex. It's very hard to read through these
Kyle Roof.
docs. Who?
Kyle Roof is his
Oh,
name.
okay. There you go. We'll tag him in the comments. And with is there anything else with SEO? There was an update, an algorithm update, and if you look in your Google Search Console, you might see like a huge drop. But the reality is, look at what keywords the drop was, because it might just be keywords that aren't relevant to your business, right? That's what we've seen a little bit of. So for, if I sold artwork and then did SEO, maybe it's downranking my artwork because I focus on SEO kind of thing. And then there's Google Ads. The only Google Ads news, I think, is the local services ads. So I don't know if you guys see them. So you got your text ads on Google, and then you have, sometimes you'll have your map section, and you can have a text ad in there. But above those, they're called local service ads, and they started with locksmiths in the States because it's very easy to become a locksmith, and then there was some underhanded things happening. And so Google did this Google Guaranteed or Google Screened. Google Screened is free. Google Guaranteed costs you money. Google Screened, you pay per lead. But so it opened up that to locksmiths, and then it went to plumbers, roofers, real estate
Garage door
agents now,
openers.
garage door openers.
Mhm.
So now you're going to have your text ads, which is its own platform to log into. You have your local service ads from Google, your own platform to log into. And then you have your shopping ads, which is you have to have a Merchant Center account, and that has to be connected with your search ad account. It's a lot. Google is probably going to put that under one roof eventually. Maybe.
One of these days, it'd be nice.
But if you are buying local service ads, something to know is that most of the work happens at the beginning. There's a lot less work, and it's just easy monitoring. So it's something actually a business owner could easily do themselves if they're in one of those industries that needs that. But I also recommend not just doing that, and it does take 6 months to a year to get approved. So real estates are doing it. Yeah.
It's been very annoying. A lot of the links to the background check company Pinkertons is like there's a lot of issues with signing in, and like their API connections between the two of them is really poorly done. And there's no also the other thing to note about the local service ads, there's no way to get reporting into Data Studio, even though Google owns both of them, and it doesn't make any sense why they haven't opened that up. So you have to log in to see how it's going.
Well, we know that Google likes to, Google wants to be a little like Facebook. They want to hide stuff on you, so you just pay for stuff.
That's
so I
true.
mean, it's funny because, now Google is recommending actually that as a business owner, you have like an agency who does, if you do Google ads, that you work with a marketer that can direct you, because it's intensive, right? Like, and the barrier to entry, it's not like, you're doing SEO, because there's no barrier to entry. Anybody can try to do it. Anybody can do it. There's no certifications you really need besides, but with Google Ads, like, it's a whole different platform. That's why a lot of SEOs don't do Google Ads, right? Like,
right.
So, because
That makes
it's
sense.
totally different. You can you can learn some stuff from Google Ads and affect your SEO. Like,
Is there a Google SEO certification program, or just the Google Ads certification?
there's Google Ads, but they also have a marketing certification, like, that you
I
can
see.
take.
I
I
see.
think,
So,
what was
okay.
it used to be called?
No, there's
Skill Shop.
Skill Shop is one,
Oh, okay.
and then so they do have a couple. Yeah, Skill Shop is the main one I would look at. They don't have one for SEO, and the reason why they don't is because they would probably show their hand too much if
They
Google
would
made.
have to give, they would have to
Yeah,
give their algorithm away.
But they
or
they do
hint
have
at.
they have a beautiful
Yeah.
guideline. So they have their
Yeah.
what, 600 page guideline
Yeah.
that you can read at, that the reviewers look at. But they also have, like, their guideline for how to hire an SEO, like what questions to ask, what
Yeah.
information. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I send people
Yeah,
there all
that's
the
super
time.
helpful. That's
Yeah.
super helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
And it gives you a guideline of who you should be working with, so you don't get taken advantage of, right?
3
And
minutes
then
for social?
Oh gosh, Rena, give her. Sorry. So
Please.
excited about the other things.
Can I have
What's-
3 minutes?
What's the big one?
Okay,
What's the big one?
I'm going to go through the main points. Of course, we're going to go through a couple of things before we hit TikTok, so that I can just shut it down when we finish. when our time is out, because I could go on forever about TikTok. So Twitter is getting rid of its tip function. And it's also going to be allowing long form tweets of up to 10,000 characters, along with new formatting options, which is really going to change how the platform is used. I think that what people love about Twitter is this kind of snappy, real time, little snippety mouthfuls, and then there's usually sometimes a link to get the fuller picture. So I prefer Twitter to work like that. I don't know what the 10,000 characters is going to look like. What is our feed going to look like? Like, is it going to be a read more, and then you open it up and then it takes like half
I hope it's a read more. Yeah.
I know. So we'll see, because they're trying a lot of things out and then rolling things back. And I think that there was another point that if you want to get your two-factor authentication to happen on your phone for better security, you have to pay for the subscribe to the blue check mark, which I really don't want to do, because I think that's the cheesiest thing going. I do not want to verify myself in that sort of way, because I don't want to be lumped into that group of people that are constantly argumentative, and then you go to their blue check mark and it says, oh, they've paid. I think that that's become a real sort of negative thing.
Well, what does that tell you, right? I mean, who
Yeah,
so the
nothing.
voices
It tells
that
me
can't
that
afford it aren't, like,
that's
I mean,
exactly right.
if politicians
That's
are telling
exactly
you to
right.
get rid of your Netflix, then they might tell you to don't get the blue check mark. And then who's getting the blue check mark? People who only have enough money, so only people with enough money can have opinions. Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's kind of icky. I get the icks with it. I can't really explain exactly why in my next 2.5 minutes, because, or 1.5 minute. Instagram unveils 2 new ad formats. They are currently testing ads in text in the search results, and reminder ads for events and launches, which sounds like it might be pretty exciting, because right now when you push an event page from Facebook, you can't really push that event page on Instagram. Like, you can only do it on Facebook, which means you have to set up something separate for Instagram. So this might be a really good reminder, because reminders are great. I love reminders. I'm a big fan. Not all reminders, but the ones that I choose to opt in for, which again, you will need to opt in, or you can opt out. I think you can opt out. It's probably the way it's going to go for Instagram. So you can opt out for those ads and those notifications. Adobe Firefly was launched this week, and guess what that is, guys?
What?
It's the generative AI models of creating images in Adobe. So if you have an Adobe account, I'm not sure if it's covered if you get the whole cloud account. I don't know if it's an add-on like the stock photography is, or if it's part of it, because I haven't logged in to see mine yet. because I just read it this morning. So that's one thing that is really great. And then let's talk about TikTok just for the last. Okay, we're actually at 11:30, but I want like 30 seconds at least. So TikTok, as we've all been following, if you've been following, it's a bit of a mess right now. The politicians want to close it down. Interestingly enough, one of the proponents for closing it down is made the Freudian slip that wouldn't all media owners like to have the kind of views that TikTok is getting from people. And I think that tells it all. I think this is less about data and more about control, because exactly what happened with Twitter is that people were organizing on Twitter for you know Arab Spring, all of those
Change,
things,
yeah.
and then and then they got in there and changed that out, and now there have been a lot of protests organizing on TikTok, especially with the Trump campaign, the last campaign. The Gen Zs were going crazy with getting tickets and not showing up to Trump's events,
Oh, that's
things like
right.
right. And so they really want control. I think it's more about control than it is about data, but I'm sure that there are some data issues too. I'm not discounting that at all, because obviously data is important. So what I've heard is that there was a deadline for today or yesterday about needing to sell it to an American a buyer. I don't think there's been an American buyer located that has that kind of funds, as Phelan pointed out earlier. China has to also kind of be involved in this process,
Well,
since
it's
they
the
own
truth
it.
on the other
And
side. Yeah, because it's
yeah,
like they.
I don't think they're going to just give it up like they think.
Yeah.
So everybody has been on TikTok yesterday and today giving out their other social accounts. All the creators are giving out their other social accounts to all the other platforms, just in case it gets shut down today. And today is supposed to be the day.
That will change
So we'll see what
influencer
happens.
marketing like
Yes,
hugely, right?
totally,
Because
totally.
it wasn't about the famous stars. People became famous and viral because their content was so
Yes.
good. Maybe I do like YouTube Shorts. That being said, we are
Yeah.
out of time. Not
We
out of
are.
touch, but out of time. And next week, as we were discussing, I think Phelan and Greg, you are getting on and talking about what?
Website no-nos.
Ooh, no. So join us there, or join us for happy hour on Friday. If you're not part of the Facebook group, we are in Cyberpunk Geeks Marketing Mixer. That's where we all hang out and socialize. We're marketers that help each other in Facebook. We do push this to other channels, but if you're interested in marketing and hanging out with other marketers who are doing it as a profession, we're in here, and we do believe it's a group effort. We are not competitive. We love and help each other. So on that note, we will see you next Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, unless you come to happy hour on Friday. Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.